If you have been watching this video series from the very beginning, you know that we can conduct inferential tests of hypotheses using replacement scores rather than the original scores that we obtain when we make observations. In the last video, I talked about using ranks as replacement scores. In this video, we're going to talk about using normal scores as replacement scores, thus leading to the one-sample normal scores randomization test. Any score that retains the order of the original scores and uses a rule to associate each original score with a replacement can be used as a replacement score. Normal scores replace original scores with scores that come from a normal distribution, maintaining the order of the absolute value of the original scores. The consequence of using normal scores is that we end up with scores that are from a normal distribution, even if the population distribution that our sample was drawn from is not normally distributed. We end up with a sample that is like a sample obtained from a normal distribution. There are several ways to obtain normal scores, but the one that is most popular, due to the strong characteristics that it yields, is the method by van der Waerden. The method is to divide the standard normal distribution into equal areas. The z-scores that are at the boundary of those areas are the normal scores that we're going to use as replacement scores. Here's a picture. In this picture, the normal distribution has been divided into 10 areas, thus yielding 9 normal scores. The formula for finding these normal scores is to find a z-score such that the probability of being less than that z-score is 1 over the number of observations plus 1, then 2 over the number of observations plus 1, then 3 over the number of observations plus 1, and so on. Let's look at an example to clarify this. Suppose that we've made 9 observations, and so we need 9 replacement scores. That is, we need to find 9 normal scores. Using the formula, we have to divide the normal distribution up into areas in which each area is 1 over 9 plus 1, or 1 over 10, or 1/10 of the total area. The first normal score will have 1/10 beneath it. Using any standard statistical software, we can find the quantile on the standard normal distribution that has 1/10 of the area beneath it, and that quantile happens to be negative 1.28. Now, when I go to the second score, I now want to look for a z-score that has 2/10 of the distribution beneath it. That z-score happens to be negative 0.84, and so on. I will next look for a z-score that has 3/10 beneath it, then 4/10 beneath it, and so on, all the way up until the final z-score, which will have 9/10 of the distribution beneath it and 1/10 above it. That will yield 9 z-scores as depicted in this picture. In the randomized match pair design, we only want positive scores so that we can randomly assign plus and minus signs. In order to obtain the correct number of positive scores, we actually seek more normal scores than we need, then just take the positive ones. Here is the formula for that. Notice that if I need n scores, I'm actually going to obtain 2 times n plus 1 normal scores. That will yield me n positive scores. Similarly, the area that is going to be between each of the normal scores is I divided by 2 times n plus 2. Again, let's look at an example in order to clarify. Suppose that I make 4 observations. Then I actually need 9 normal scores, that is 2 times 4 plus 1. We'll have 1 divided by 2 times 4 plus 2, or 1 divided by 10, or 1/10 of the area beneath it. You should recognize that this is the same as the example we just did, except in that example we were seeking 9 normal scores, but now since we're focusing on only positive normal scores, we need 9 normal scores in order to obtain 4 positive normal scores. So this same picture applies. If you look at the number of boundaries above 0, you'll count 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. The z-scores corresponding to those boundaries are the 4 positive normal scores. Now let's talk about using normal scores with the one-sample randomization test. You should have watched a previous video in which I described Fisher's general method using original scores in order to conduct a randomization test. What we are going to do now is replace the original scores with normal scores in rank order of the absolute value, and then we will use Fisher's randomization method to test the null hypothesis about the median. Throughout this video series, I have been showing examples with a small set of data. Here are the same scores that I used in previous videos: 3, -2, 7, 6, -1, and 12. So we have 6 observations, and we are conducting a one-sample test of match pair differences. So therefore, the number of normal scores that we're going to need to obtain is 2 times 6 plus 1, or 13, so that we can obtain 6 positive normal scores. And then the area is going to be divided into 14 parts. If you obtain 13 normal scores, it will divide your normal distribution into 14 parts. So we can use this probability formula and find our quantiles on the standard normal distribution, that is our z-scores, letting I range from 1 to 13. Again, using standard statistical software, we can easily find these z-scores, and here they are. We have a total of 13 scores, but notice that 6 of them are positive. And those 6 positive normal scores are what I'm now going to use in order to obtain the replacement scores for conducting Fisher's randomization test. Here are the scores I end up with. Notice that the lowest of the normal scores is 0.18, so that will correspond to the lowest score that I have in my original scores, ignoring the signs, that is, taking the absolute value. That would be a score of 1. So 0.18 is going to be associated with 1. Now I'm going to look at the sign for that 1, and it's negative. So I'm going to attach the negative sign to 0.18. I'm now going to look for the next lowest score in absolute value terms, and that is 2. The score that I'll associate with that is 0.37. The 2 has a minus sign, so I'm going to put a negative sign on the 0.37. Next is 3. That's associated with 0.57. That's positive, so I'll leave this normal score positive. And all the rest of them are positive as well. The 6 is associated with 0.79, the 7 is associated with 1.07, and the 12 is associated with 1.47. So now I have linked each of these normal scores in rank order based upon the absolute value of the original scores with those original scores. I will now use these scores as replacement scores, but the method will be just as though I was doing Fisher's randomization test with original scores. If you need to learn about Fisher's test with original scores or review that method, go ahead and watch that video again and think about using these replacement normal scores instead of original scores. The test statistic here is going to be the sum of the positive normal scores. If we add up 0.57, 0.79, 1.07, and 1.47, we come up with a test statistic of 3.9. If we construct the distribution based upon these normal scores, we can determine that the p-statistic is 0.062. If I was using an alpha of 0.05, I would not reject the null hypothesis, and I would retain the possibility that the median of the different scores is equal to 0. On the other hand, if I had noted that I was only doing a study with 6 observations and decided to use a larger alpha, like say 0.10, then I would have rejected and would have concluded that there is a treatment effect, that in fact the median of the different scores is something greater than 0. Why would we use normal scores? If in fact you suspect that you have something close to a normal distribution in your population that you're drawing your sample from, that is the kind of situation in which you might think of doing the one-sample t-test, by using normal scores, you will obtain the same power as if you had done the one-sample t-test, but you will actually accomplish 2 additional benefits that the t-test does not give you. One is that you're using exact probabilities when you calculate your p-value, rather than an approximation based upon the mathematical model that we call the normal distribution. The second benefit is that if your population distribution happens to be not normal, using Fisher's randomization method with normal scores will still maintain your type 1 error rate at your chosen level, whereas the t-test could end up giving you an inflated type 1 error rate. In general, those are two advantages of randomization tests: calculating exact probabilities and maintaining the type 1 error rate regardless of the underlying population distribution form.